Right then, here we are again, back on day 2 of our work on the island at the end of everything. We're still working on our cull task, as I explained yesterday in that video, and we are on the second of 4 pieces of work. Today, for session 2, we are looking at 2B, to retrieve and record information or key details from fiction and non-fiction texts. Obviously, the island at the end of everything is a fiction text. So, thinking about 2B, first of all, you'll probably be given some key information in the question. So it might ask you to find something specific. So in the paragraph beginning or in the sentence beginning or something linked to a character. So you're going to need your technique of skimming and scanning. So skim reading and scanning. So remember that scanning is where you just look for one keyword. So we've talked about putting those first 3 letters in our head and then trying to find those first 3 letters. And that skim reading are where you really quickly look at the keywords as you're moving through. You may need to do this bit here, finding and copy a word or a phrase, and you must make sure that this word for word bit is really focused on. Now, if you are working on paper, highlighting the keywords in a question by underlining them is the best place to start. If you're working on Teams, you'll be really lucky because your computer can highlight that for you. So always think about what would we do in class. We would circle that word. If I'm working online, I would do the highlighter tool and make it a different colour. You can change to make it bold, you can make it a different colour in text, you can completely do that highlight across the whole word, whatever works for you so that you really pick out, right, what is the most important part of that question? That's where we're going to start. Now, when you've done that, that's when you apply your skimming and scanning techniques to find that keyword, or sometimes it will be a synonym of that keyword inside of the text. Then highlight it in the text, underline it, make it bold. Whatever you've decided to do in this part 1 in the question, do that in your text. And then you're able to start answering the question. Right then, so that should hopefully be enough information about 2B before we start to actually look at the questions. So again, we're looking at the extract. I will read it again today. And then feel free to pause the video, rewind it, replay it, or alternatively read it aloud yourself. There are some places you would not want to go. Even if I told you that we have oceans clear and blue as summer skies, filled with sea turtles and dolphins, or forest-covered hills lush with birds that call through air thick with warmth. Even if you knew how beautiful the quiet is here, clean and fresh as a glass bell ringing. But nobody comes here because they want to. My nanny told me that this is how they brought her, but she says it is always the same, no matter who you are or where you come from. From your house, you travel on horse or by foot, then on a boat. The men who row it cover their noses and mouths with cloths stuffed with herbs so that they don't have to share your breath. They will not help you on the boat, although your head aches, and 2 weeks ago your legs began to hurt, then to numb. Maybe you stumble towards them and they duck. They would rather you rolled over their backs and into the sea than to touch you. Okay, so feel free, pause the video now, reread it yourself, or rewind it so you can hear me reading it again. Right then, you've got 4 questions today. Please do spend the time to slowly think about these questions. It is a cull task. We want you to get the right answer, so don't rush it. Obviously, for questions 1 and 2 and 3, you can see that you're required to give more than one example, which is why you need to really be careful when you're reading the question. So question 1, give 2 examples of the pain that the writer feels. If you can find and copy those exact words, then please do that. Question 2, give 2 examples of what can be found on the island. There may be more than 2 examples of what can be found on the island. You just need to pick 2. Question 3, give all 3 examples of how people are taken to the island. So you need to be thinking of which of the 2 paragraphs that information is surrounding how people get to the island. And then finally, it's a simple true or false. Now, if you're working on paper, then what you can do is you can obviously tick the right boxes. Now, if you're working on Teams, I'm hopeful that you can type into the box of the table. If that does not work, then what you can do is underneath, you can type out 1 is true or 2 is false. Or you can rewrite out the whole statement again. So, for example, you will type, the men will not help the people on the boat, and then you'll write the word true or write the word false. You might want to find an easier way of doing it, where you just write 1 true or 1 false, and 1 would link to the men will not help the people on the boat. So pause the video now, reread the extract. Think really carefully about highlighting the words in the questions. So, for example, in question 1, I would be highlighting the word pain, and then I'll be looking for any words that link to pain, and I will be highlighting those in the text as well. So do that now. Take some time. Remember what we said yesterday. Please work independently. The answers will be coming to you in a moment when you press play again. So please don't look at that video and part of the video, until you're ready. Okay, pause it now. Good luck. Right then, well done for having a good go. Let's have a look at what the answers would be. Question 1, give 2 examples of the pain that the writer feels. So there are actually 3. So the first thing is that the writer's head hurts. I need to apologise right now because I can see in question 2 and question 3 I haven't used the apostrophe of possession. That's really, really bad. I'm going to actually pop that in now because we remember we are always thinking about good grammar when we are at school. So I apologise for that. So the writer's head hurts is the first example of the pain that the writer feels. Another example is that the writer's legs began to ache 2 weeks ago. If you wrote the writer's legs ache, then you would also be able to have had the mark for that as well. And then your final option is the writer's legs hurt so much and for so long that they are now numb. That's another one. So well done if you've got those answers. Question 2, give 2 examples of what can be found on the island. 1 is forest-covered hills and 2 is birds. You cannot have the answer of you cannot have the answer of clear oceans filled with turtles and dolphins because it must be what's found on the island, not found around the island. So the preposition on really does dictate to you how specific this question is. So well done if you've got forest-covered hills, well done if you've got birds. If you've got clear oceans, unfortunately that's around the island, so it doesn't actually meet the question specifics. Question 3, give all 3 examples of how people are taken to the island. So you could either say they walk or they travel on foot, they ride a horse or they travel on horse, or they ride in a boat or they travel by boat. But those are all 3 examples. When we go back, just quickly looking back at what it says the way that they get you is always the same, and then it does link the or. So if those people are unable to travel by foot, they will be given a horse. But those are all 3 ways of how people are taken to the island. Question 4, here are your answers for true or false. So the men will not help the people on the boat. That is true, because even though your legs ache and they started to numb, they're not going to help you. If you stumble, they will let you fall into the water. So they will not help the people on the boat. The writer's nanny is on the island already. Remember, it says that my nanny told me that this is how they brought her. So they brought her is in the past tense. Therefore, she's already there on the island. We don't know if the writer is on the island, but the writer's nanny is on the island. Now, the word nanny is a piece of language that is specific to where this island is, and this island is set in the Philippines. So the word nanny is the local way of saying the word mum or mother. So the writer's mum is on the island already. The men are trying to avoid the people on the boat is true. We know that they're trying to avoid the people on the boat. They're trying to avoid their breath by stuffing a cloth full of herbs, and they're trying to avoid the people on the boat by stepping out of the way if they stumble. It's said again, it's going back to that, they're going to let you fall in the water rather than they would catch you, because they are not going to touch you. And then people choose to get on the boat. Now, it's slight inference here, but it's saying that the people are brought to the island, and that word brought insinuates that it's not a choice, that they are forced almost to come to the island. They're brought this way. So they do not choose to get on the boat. So it is false that they choose to get on the boat. So I really hope that you've done a good job there at getting all of those answers right. Well done, and we will hear from you tomorrow when you are doing your third part of the cult task.